back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons. I'm a master certified life coach and an energy healer. I'm joined today with Sherrika Sanders. Sherrika founded Transform the GAAP to draw on her more than 15 years of corporate accounting experiences to mentor and empower accountants facing challenges and advancing their careers. Sherrika equips them with the tools to advance from stagnation to strategic growth. Sherrika has a bachelor's in accounting, an MBA, and a master's in organizational leadership and resides in Atlanta, Georgia in the U.S. Sherrika, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
What you up to today?
Living and loving life and being okay with resting. Someone asked me today, and I may be jumping ahead of the gun here, but I didn't do the transition from corporate into entrepreneurship. I turned in my notice. I'm leaving corporate. I'm starting my own company. And so someone asked me today, well, why can't you do both? And I went through all these different ways. You make it sound right. And, but then I was like, nope, this is my truth. I can do both, but I don't want to. I don't want to do the long hours in an office, the extended hours that it takes to run a business, especially if you want it to be successful, putting on the wife hat, putting on the mother hat, putting on all the other things, and then thinking about Sherrika somewhere down the line. So I didn't say I can't. I don't want to. And so I am in that space today.
Yes, I feel kindred with you because I feel the same way when I said today's my last day. And, I didn't even know as much as you did when you wanted to go start your business. I just knew while I could have kept going in the 9 to 5 and in my case, experiencing workplace trauma, and I was awakening to the power of what I am as a healer and a warrior. And that didn't fit. It didn't fit me. And so gratefully and privilegedly, I don't know. I was able to say,
today.
Right? Privilegedly, I said, today's my last day. And I always say the same thing that you just said. I could have kept going. I chose not to because I stood up and said, let me have my own back and let me figure this out because I know this is not it. So one of the first things I asked you, because I'm not an accountant, when you say GAAP, you're talking about GAAP. And what does that mean historically, again, in the industry of accounting? And then also, what does it mean to you and your business?
Yes. And thank you for asking and not asking me if I spell GAAP wrong. GAAP, GAAP, is a widely known accounting term, which means generally accepted accounting principles. And when coming up with the name for my business, I wanted something that spoke to transformation, and I wanted something that spoke to accountants and people who are in that space. And so Transform the GAAP does just that for me. And for my business, it means goals assigned achieving purpose, because that's ultimately what I'm doing, working with other accountants to achieve their next. And whatever that goal is, whether it's just career fulfillment, I'm enjoying being in the space and in the position that I'm in, but I'm not really fulfilled. I don't have that work-life balance. And if I can just get those two things to balance out, I'm completely okay where I am. Or whether it's, this is cool, but this isn't where I see myself forever, and I want to grow. And so helping them get to whatever that transformation is.
So many amazing people are both just sticking it out, enduring an experience in the workplace that is just a paycheck. And by the way, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And especially for me as an energy coach, I know how much that can harm your energy field. So I'm not suggesting that everyone uproot everything that they know is safe and true and is right for them in that moment. But you said this a little bit. It's like, it's not about necessarily doing both, like in selling yourself short, meaning like you have nothing else to give to anybody else or yourself, most importantly, when you're trying to do the 9 to 5 and develop this other something about yourself.
Right.
And I see so many incredible people maybe playing small or limiting themselves only for the paycheck, and they still don't feel good, by the way, because they're forcing themselves to just live for the paycheck. But then there's also this mass exodus of amazing humans like you and me that the workplace no longer has. So where are we at? Meaning, if we have amazing humans in the 9 to 5, maybe playing small and knowing that they have bigger potential, but also have this mass exodus of these amazing humans doing things on their own, what's
Mhm.
happening to the workplace?
You know what? It's a few things. I saw a lot of management who led by fear, meaning instilling fear into their team. I don't have to have you. I could get someone else to replace you. And so the team feels like at this point, I just need to keep my job and whatever that means. And so there's a piece of that. There are people who are just not willing to accept differences. So not only are we different as people, but times have changed and you don't necessarily have to work in the office on site, sitting at a desk 9 to 5 to show, or 9 to whatever to show that you're productive. You can do it from home. You can go in for a few hours, go do whatever you need to do in your personal life, and come back online later in the day, however that looks like for you, as long as you're able to do what you need to do. But everyone isn't so accommodating for that. But I feel like often in corporate, to try to keep people in line, so to speak, a lot of managers, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of people in management don't encourage, they talk down, they call out the mistakes that you've made, all of the things to make you feel like you need them. And one of the things that I can definitely say now that I've left corporate, even after I made the changes that I needed to start speaking up for myself and all of those things, now that I'm in this space, it's like I dealt with that because I didn't know I was me. And a lot of us don't. We don't realize that. We don't see who we really are. We see ourselves for the situation that we're in.
Mm.
And so that's one of the things that when I work with people, it's like, look, we're digging deep down because that person is there. We're digging deep down to find this inner person who, after life events, after setback, after hardship, after all of these different things, just continue to pile on top of it and just bury this person. We're going to uncover them and find them and then put them on full display because that's who we are.
Exactly. And I really resonate with the way that you approach people that you serve. It's giving them space to explore what's
Mm-hmm.
always been there, but has
Mm-hmm.
been conditioned or trained out. What I call it is like we've been living in a copy paste culture, especially in the workplace, because we're still operating by and large, I'm not going to say every, by and large, on average in the workplace, still
Mm-hmm.
operating from the systems created 100 years ago or more, rooted in white supremacy, patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism. And that doesn't allow that unique
Mm-hmm.
brilliance to shine. They really need you to be a copy paste to be able to keep doing what they've always been doing, which is creating the workplace for white men to benefit other white men to make a lot of money for other white men.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
if you feel called out right now, sit with that. I encourage you to feel that energy and see where that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel just energetically overall, we're at a point in culture, in society, in 5 big generations being in the workplace. It isn't working for the majority of, especially the newer folks coming in. And
Mm-hmm.
until it equalizes, someone will ask me, they're like, "Would you ever go back?" I'm like, "Go back to what?" What do you, they're like the 9 to 5. I was like, Here's the deal. Never say never. And every
Right.
day I'm still feeling into my unique path and journey. And what's really, really gorgeous for me right now is that as a coach, I guide others to find what you're talking about, like you do, is like, let's go find them. They're still there
Mm-hmm.
so beautifully. And
Mm-hmm.
what feels safe to you, what feels good to you, we hold that space to kind of stretch and explore without having to like physically uproot anything so that you don't
Right.
rock your root chakra, because your
Right.
root chakra will get real wobbly if you do what I did and said today's my last day. It's like, what? So I love what you're saying. It's not about anyone else's timeline but yours, and feeling
Mm-hmm.
into what that means for you.
Yes, absolutely. And even with my program, like initially I had a 6 month program, this, that, and the other. But then I was like, well, no, because some people may take longer, some may reach that point faster. And so we're working to an expected end. And that's what, it looks like. But I don't want people who are okay with being in corporate to feel wrong for that,
Mm-hmm.
because I was in that space at one point. And when I was in that space, I was like, this is me. This is what I do. I'm not a risk taker. I like my quote unquote security of knowing when I get paid. A lot of people like having that structure. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But that also doesn't mean that you can't make it a safe space for you, and
Yeah.
you can't own the space that you're in, and that you can't show up as yourself each and every day. Because when you're doing all of that, but you're having to mask who you really are, then that's a problem. I remember telling somebody once before, so I'm a Leo, and Leos are known for being a little controlling and maybe bossy and maybe have a little bit of a temper. And I am all of those things. And I love me in all of those ways. But I remember talking to someone once when I was in corporate, and I said something about, like, I really don't have a lot of patience and I can go there very quickly. And they're like, I don't believe that. I don't see that from you. And I said, because you see the person they paid me to be. And a lot of us are doing that in corporate. Now, on some ways, that's completely okay, because everybody at work doesn't need to know everything. So yes, have your boundaries, have your safe spaces, and your, okay, let me pull it together. But just authentically to your core of being who you are, that shouldn't change because of the space that you're in. And you shouldn't feel uncomfortable because of the space that you're
Yeah. I knew I knew things were shifting for me in the corporate space when I was the leader of the Women's Employee Resource Group, and we were on a quest to reconfigure those bathroom machines of tampons and pads that were a quarter. We were on a quest to make all that free. The C-suite was like, first of all, wait, what? There's machines and that costs a quarter? Because like they had their C-suite bathrooms with all the free materials, and then so they didn't even know. And then
in. Oh,
second,
wow.
they were like, of course, I was looking at a lot of white men. They were like, wait, but if they're free, what if someone hoards them? I was like, then awesome. We've given that person who menstruates a little bit less to worry about that day. If they feel the need to hoard them, great.
Right.
So I felt it shifting for me when I loud and proud would carry my tampons with me visibly to every meeting, and it would sit on top of my laptop with me while while I was in that meeting, proudly
Oh,
menstruating. I
I
was like,
love it.
oh, I'm changing. Okay. Okay. Because like back in the day, you would have seen me, suit, heels, straight hair, prim and
Yeah.
proper, never
Yeah.
stepping out of time. And then when I got to that point, I was like, oh, I love this me because I'm a woman leader carrying my tampons around freely. What if that encourages one woman to not be ashamed of her period? So,
Yes.
and by the way, we
Yes.
got all the machines configured worldwide to be free. So we
Awesome.
did it.
Good.
Anyway, so if anybody feels called, like as you're changing, again, that doesn't mean that you have to leave it, but be you by any degree that you feel comfortable in the
Mm-hmm.
workplace so that you can start bringing your true self. And if you are performanced out or like a pipped out for that, bye.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a
Mm-hmm.
gift. Anyway, so we could go on and on about this. Sherrika, what moves are you excited to be making right now?
So one of those is, I was at a meeting yesterday, and I heard someone say, be the change that you need, which something I've heard before, but I don't know, it struck a little bit differently for me, because what it made me realize is that I'm in this space because I'm being the change that I needed when I was in corporate. I'm being the person that I was looking for when I was in corporate, and I didn't have that. And so that really excites me to know that, one, just to know when you're able to do something that you genuinely love, but it can help other people, there's a different level of satisfaction that comes from that. And so I'm really just excited, I guess, as I really discover more of me and who I am, and being comfortable with me and who I am. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then I do a lot of moving and shaking. You know what? I just feel a lot of personal growth. And so that makes me really happy because what I realize is that the more I become aware of me and the more I grow personally, the more I am able to share that with others and help others and be in a good space to receive others. So I think it's really just about seeing my personal growth each day. And this entrepreneurial journey has definitely done that and helped me to pull out some things about myself that made me say, well, why do you do it that way? Or, well, why is that? Because one of the things I realized when I first came into this space, I pulled a lot of my old corporate habits. I brought a lot of those with me. And then it was like, wait. You don't have to do that anymore. Like, you can go to bed. You gave yourself that deadline, so you can change it if you need to. So go to bed. I have a sign on my wall that says, give it to God and go to sleep. So do that. Or you know what? You were only in the office a few hours this morning, and then you had to leave because you had an appointment, and then you had to do this and that. And by the time you got back home, it's now the end of the day. No, you don't have to go back and get back on your computer. We'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so it's just little things like that that's really empowering me, honestly, and making me feel even better about the different things and moves and decisions that I make because I know that they're coming from a secure place.
Yeah. Everything starts with an intention and an energy. You can never go wrong with that. If you have your highest good as an intention and your heart's desire in your forefront, you're going to move with such amazingness, and the universe, God, source, creator is going to respond to you because you
Mm-hmm.
have that as your truth. I love what you said about bringing those old habits. I did too. Ooh, I felt, especially because the fear and panic had set in early days, that I had said today's my last day. And I walked away from any sort of incentive I could have received because of the workplace trauma and abuse I'd experienced, but I just wanted to be safe and out. So I walked away from everything. I felt beholden to start a job search every single day from 8 to 6, voraciously running myself into the
Mm-hmm.
ground after I left corporate because that's what I was always used to. And how dare I have the audacity to take all of that away with full free will? That was like the early day
Mm-hmm.
thinking. And beautifully at this point, a year and a half into business, I have guardrails about when I start work and when I end work. And oh, by the way, if I'm feeling like really amazing on a Saturday afternoon and I'm feeling called, I will start creating content because I'm feeling lit up. And so
Mm-hmm.
I call the shots. And if I work 1 hour a day, that's amazing. And if I get up in the morning and my body's like, then I go back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I let that
Mm-hmm.
be true and let that be enough. And I trust myself with everything that I have, that I'm leading with my highest good. So
Mm-hmm.
everything is enough every single day.
Yes.
But it's hard to get there when, again, I was trained for, well, more than 20 years. It started when I was 16 and got my first job at Dairy Queen. So a mover and a shaker you are, so am I. And this is where I'm going to go into a LinkedIn post that you made recently that really resonated with me. So I'm a healer and a warrior. My healer is a place of love and light that gives space and grace to all humanity. My warrior, if you come at me with some energy that does not serve my highest good or disrupts my peace, then I give her permission to release you with that love and light. And also, if I'm in a spicy day, oh, God help you. I mean, because I will go in a little bit. I don't want to go low, but I will come to you with some facts that just did disrupt my peace. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, and this is where I'm going to go into your post. For instance, I understand in this space and time, we have such an incredible moment of this presidential election year that transcends the two humans. It's really old way, new way, hate, love. It just transcends everything. It's the tipping point. It's the bigger question of asking humanity, how do you want to proceed? That's really what we're coming up to. So my healer and warrior come together in this beautiful space. as a white woman, I understand my privilege to go out there and I'm canvassing in the battlegrounds. I'm asking people to help me understand if you're undecided. I don't have the luxury of turning a cheek to an administration that wants to make it illegal for humans to be here,
Mm-hmm.
period. So, in that vein, I feel that for all women, men have a really crucial part to play. So, you pose this stance: how men can be supportive of women in a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Asking questions is a powerful tool. It demonstrates empathy and shows that you value others' perspectives. When men in the
Yes.
workplace actively seek to understand their colleagues' challenges, they contribute to a culture where everyone feels seen and heard. So, how can we encourage more men to embrace this approach? One, lead by example. Share your own experiences of asking for help and supporting others. Two, create safe spaces. Foster an environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their needs. Three, celebrate supportive actions. Acknowledge and reward those who take the initiative to ask and assist. Let's shift the narrative from I'm too busy to how can I help? Sherrika, this is a beautiful, beautiful post. Me personally, I'm coming at it from a place where I'm calling on people who look like me to stand up and do something. Help me understand where you're coming from.
I guess honestly, it would be more to the white males that we see in corporate, especially that was pretty much all that was in my space. And you do get some that will say, how can I help? But they're asking, how can I help you help me? And that's the part. It needs to just be, how can I help? And that's it, not the additional, not the ulterior motive, not the because I want to make sure that you're still giving me or getting me what I need, and taking themselves out of it. And years ago, when I would interview at a company, they knew I was married because I would have on a ring, but I never said anything about kids. I would never mention that I had kids. If they had them, I'm still not going to say anything about it. And they'll find out some point after I start. And not because I was ashamed or embarrassed or any of that, but because I knew that there was a stigma that was attached to being a mother in the workplace. And it was her priorities aren't the same. She's probably going to have to leave to go, whether it's fix dinner or for an appointment. If the kid gets sick, she's going to have to be the one to stay home. And guess what? I was all of those things. And I did all of those things very well when needed, as needed for my children, for my family. But I still also did what I needed to do in the workplace. I didn't want them to think this, and I don't want them to make these assumptions. So I'm just not going to say anything. And I went from that space to being, yes, I am a mother and a wife and a successful accountant and whatever else I choose to be. And it was showing up in that space and owning that space. But that isn't a space where everyone is in or where everyone feels comfortable. And there are a lot of men who make women feel or try to make them feel inferior because you have these other things that you need to do, whatever those things are. Or my wife works, or my wife is at home. And so I'm sure you have to go and take care of home, or I'm sure you have to do, like, who are you? And who gave you what authority that you think you have?
Ooh, my warrior. Ooh, she is rising. Ooh. Oh, Sherrika, I was often called the mama bear because I showed
Hmm.
up for my team. My number one priority, especially I had a team of people over the pandemic. My number one priority every single day, are you safe? Are you okay? What do you need? That was my main priority every single day. And to your point earlier, a lot of people in charge I found in my workplace and corporate was, how can I help you to make me more money? That was the
Hmm.
vibe. And so what was enraging to me is that because I was so on the forefront of making sure my team felt the best they could, we were crushing like the metrics, the goals. And
Hmm.
do you, ooh, they got mad. Ooh, that made them mad that I could do both. That made a lot of people really annoyed. So I would get performance reviews such as, you're too coddling, you're too protective, you're too this. And this wasn't even just from men, this was from women, superiors of mine that were like, you got to tone that down. Why?
Right.
That is one of the main reasons that I stepped away. I want to be able to lead people that not only allows them to show up as their true selves, that they feel amazingly safe to be able to come and
Yep.
challenge me, challenge others for the good
Yep.
of the customer, themselves, teammates, the business. Show
Yep.
up, say what you got to say. And I'm going to always give room to that. And that was not welcome. And unfortunately, I had stuck it out for so long because I wanted to protect my team. I knew the moment I
Right.
left, they would get all of that abuse, and they did immediately. And now none of them are on the team, So anyway, I got a little ruffled. Let me recenter. But is there anything wrong with the way that I'm saying these things? Sometimes,
No,
sometimes anger is good.
and you know what? People don't realize when you show support, when you show someone that you care, they will go to the ends of the earth for you. That's how you were able to exceed all of the metrics
Yeah.
and meet or surpass your goals because you had people who knew she has my back. And so because she has my back, I have hers.
Mm.
And people will do that. They will tell you that. I've had so many people, what do you need, Sherrika? What can I help you with? Do you want me to stay? Do you want, and I'm like, no, no, whatever it is you need, because they knew that if the tables were turned, I would help them. I remember years ago, I worked in a billing call center. And I remember I started off as one of the people that took calls. And then after I was promoted to a supervisor of the team, I no longer had to take the calls. So one day people were taking calls, and I'm looking at our queue and seeing the calls going up, going up, going up. So I was like, well, let me just go get on a phone. And they were like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I know how to take calls. Obviously, the help is needed. Let's get the queue down. And then I'll go back to, whatever. The help is needed. I'm here. It's not like I don't know how to do it. And then on top of that, I can resolve my own escalations. So let's just get let's get this queue down.
Exactly. And it's so funny, the synchronicity, Sharika, because I was also overseeing credit operations back in the day. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what gives me hope is women like you and me who understand how the workplace has transpired and the
Mhm.
balance that is missing from most workplaces. So you and I are out here helping support the humans that still want to stay in, but also to exercise their unique brilliance and power and magic to show up in other ways if they can't in the workplace. And oh, by the way, through our work together, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, a lot of the people that I serve, once we start working together, they start to regain and trust who they are at the core. And they're like, wait, I deserve more. I deserve better.
Yep.
And that is their
Yep.
call to make. My favorite part of coaching is seeing a person I serve light up because they remember that really incredible, no one can do what you do, how you do it vibe, and
Hmm.
everything shifts in their world and they get it.
Yes. Yes. When they realize that I am enough. And what also a lot of people have to realize, because some people, those who are in the corporate space, and it's all about my title and my this and my that. Leadership is servanthood. The higher you go, the more you have to cater to others. It's not about telling other people what to do. It's not about, oh, I'm making all of the decisions. No, it's about what can I do to help support you? Because if I support you, I'm already taken care of. And a lot of people just, I don't know, that just completely goes over their head. It's about, oh, this salary, oh, this title, all of the things that do not matter, that can be taken away from you in a second. But who you are at your core cannot. And
Yeah.
who you are at your core is what will keep you in your current or even your next job or adventure project, whatever the case may be, because you're still that person. I remember this one company I was at, this lady left. I was in revenue accounting. There was a lady that was in collections, and she sat near me. So we knew each other's names and we were cordial, but we didn't really know each other all that well. And she left the company, And then maybe a couple of months after she left, she called me. I didn't even know she had my, well, she didn't have my number. She got it from somebody. And she called me and she's like, hey, I'm over at, such and such company, and I think they really could use your help. And I was like, huh? And she was like, yeah, I know. She said, I know we didn't work together that long, but I see the way you work. I see your work ethic. I see how, you navigated the other people within our space, and we could use you over here. Just looking at who you are and watching who you are. And that, like, I didn't know she paid any attention to me. I knew she knew my name. And after she left, I probably, if you had asked me, I would probably say, nope, she doesn't know who I am now, But it's just, it lets me know that when you show up as yourself, just being who you are at the core, whether that's, helping people, serving others, how can I help you genuinely? People see that and they want more of that around them, not the person who's, we need to get it done. You should have had it done yesterday. You probably should have had it done yesterday, but it wasn't. So now how are we going to fix it?
Yeah.
Let's focus on that space.
Yeah.
So, and I don't even honestly know where that tangent came from, but it was just, just
Trust it.
something
Trust it. It came
that
in.
was.
We trust everything that comes up organically in this show for sure. It came in. Somebody needed to hear that, Sherrika. You never know. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
ah, a fiery Aries and a spicy Leo. Here we are. Here we are. We have space for both, and we're on the forefront helping people light up and live the life,
Yes.
create the life they truly want to see, and not just be an autopilot in what doesn't feel good. So, what would you say, Sherrika, to anyone out there? They maybe are just in it for the paycheck, and that's great. Nothing's wrong with you. But
Mm-hmm.
also might want to explore something, and maybe it's not opening your own business, but maybe it's something like, I'm just in autopilot, going with the motions of life. I don't feel lit up. What are these two talking about? What would
Mm-hmm.
you say?
Try to remember, and I said try because sometimes it is hard for us, but try to remember who you are, who you were when you were in that place of happiness or fulfillment. And now what's missing now, or what has been added to that to where you're no longer that person? Is it stress?
Mm.
Is it, you don't feel like you're making enough money for the work that you're doing? Is it the environment that you're in? What is it that is stealing your joy, that's keeping you from just being your 100% self? Because if you're able to go back to that space or find that place, it will help you to see what's missing. And then you have the choice to say, you know what, now I can make a decision to change these factors, whether it's making more money or going somewhere else or removing myself out of this environment. I can make that change. Or if that place or space doesn't exist, I can create it, because we give ourselves so many limits. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and this is like the third or fourth time that this has come into my head. And so I keep saying it to other people, but it's probably just as much for me. And it was a story that I saw years ago about the bumblebee and how the bumblebee's body is too heavy for it to fly. But obviously it does. And they said, well, why is that? And it's because nobody ever told it that it couldn't. Think about the limitations that you have, the things that you aren't doing, the things that you desire to do, but for whatever reason feel you can't. Why not? Who told you that?
Who told you that? And is that your truth? If someone told you something and it's not your truth, don't pick it up.
Right,
You don't have to.
right, right.
Oh, that bumblebee story, I about cried. No one told that little bee you can't fly, so it does.
Mm-hmm.
I felt called recently something similar to share with a group that had the honor of hosting a beautiful moon ceremony for. The message that night was, you already have your wings. Use them.
Yep,
And they're all like
yep.
mind blown. Like, I have my wings? Like, of course you do. Of course you do. Let's fly.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's like, I don't know how to feel that, I'm like, okay, go outside, pick up a stick and start digging in the dirt. What do you find? Did you find a bug? Did you find a weed? Do you not like sticks? Is dirt gross? Okay, go get on a swing set. Get really high and then jump out like we used to when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel? Go find a trampoline. Go jump for a while. What do you feel? And it's playing in whatever you feel is playing. Go jump on a video game. Go build some Legos. It's getting your mind and your body and your soul out of the autopilot and the going through the motions of life and adult responsibilities
Yeah.
for just a little bit. And you'll be astonished. I don't know if you agree. I'm always amazed with how magical and powerful I am when I get out of that mode. And suddenly the quote unquote answers or the way forward is just like floods me. I'm like, whoa, thanks, guides. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sherrika, where can we
Yes.
find you?
So I can be found at Transform the Gap. That's GAAP.com. I am also on LinkedIn under Sherrika Sanders, Sherrika, Sherrika Sanders. Those are probably the main two platforms. I'm Sherrika Sanders on Facebook as well, YouTube, all the other platforms, but the main two, LinkedIn and my website. If you have a question, if you have a comment, emotional speech, whatever the case may be, that's fine. Reach out. I love to connect and help honestly any way that I can. We may not be the perfect fit to necessarily work together, but that doesn't mean that I can't help you find that person that you do desire to work with or help you with that thing that you do need. So always open for a conversation.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
I, one, want to thank you and I appreciate you for this time and this platform thoroughly, 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 because I feel like honestly, a lot of what was said were great reminders for myself as well. This year, for the first time, I created a vision board. I've always written things down, but I've never done vision boards. And I did it one this year. And the first thing I see, which is the banner that I have on top of it is right in front of me. It says limitless possibility. And I want us to keep that in our minds. Limitless possibilities. And something I used to say to myself each morning, and I was telling somebody this recently, I probably should start it back because it just does something to me when I say it. But I would always say, nothing is impossible for God, and I am made in the image of God. Therefore, all things are possible for me. Limitless possibilities.
Thank you, Sherrika.
Thank you for having me.